I got contacted by an attorney out of Houston, or actually out of Austin, Texas, and she has connections with a huge number of people who have what's called short-term vacation rentals, or vacation rentals by owners. This is not the same as an Airbnb. I don't want you to associate the one with the other. It's mainly, think of it as your mom and dad take all of their retirement, they purchase a bungalow out on a barrier island, ostensibly because they want to go and use their second home to, go to the beach, but they're not going to be there all the time. And so 10 or 11 months out of the year, they rent it to people who want to, rather than going into the Marriott or the Hyatt, would rather stay in a home near the beach or a bungalow or what have you. And so that rental income smartly helps defray the cost of having that second residence. Well, and interestingly enough, take a guess. Do you know how many hotels there are in the state of Florida?
You know what? I would like to now give a number and be right on the mark and come off like I'm so savvy and knowledgeable. But I'm not, because we talked about it yesterday and you told me around what the number is.
Over 400, I think it's 423,000 hotel rooms. That's Red Roof Inn, Marriott. There's 126,000 hotel rooms in and around Disney in the Orlando metro area. There are over 420,000 hotel rooms. Those hotel rooms are not affected by the governor's executive order. So this is going to get complicated. So let me explain.
Okay, so, and just so the viewers, everybody pretty much knows here in Florida, but that order that you're about to reference is the most recent one that came out by Governor
20-112. 20-112 is the most recent executive order. And in that executive order, the governor has sort of, opened things up. Restaurants can reopen up to 25% capacity. Stores can open. It's loosened things up. But in the order, it referenced an earlier order, which is Executive Order 20-87. And that order was passed back on March 30th. And that order ostensibly said that only short-term rentals as defined by the Florida statute, and the Florida statute is, I should add that memorized, but I don't have it memorized.
But you know what? How's about this? I'm going to go ahead and produce this, and I'll just include that in the publication of the video.
They're defined in the Florida statute, and essentially that statute defines basically what I just described. These sole proprietorships that have a bungalow that want to rent a short-term rental to people. It's not including the Marriott or the Hyatt or these hotels or condos or all these various other entities.
Let me ask you a question. School me. I happen to know some people that just have investment properties that fall under that category that you're describing. It's not just me as somebody that wants a second home, and then, as you said, I will, to defray costs, rent it out when I'm not using it. But it's also for persons that buy more than one for that very purpose, to be able to rent them out as vacay rentals along the beach.
That's correct.
So those would be impacted too.
And in the order said, you people, grandma and grandpa, you people, it is verboten, strictly verboten. It's German for forbidden, for you to rent or even advertise, if you even advertise, if you have the gall, the unbelievable gall to advertise, we're going to not only find you guilty of a second-degree misdemeanor. I'm pulling the order. That's 9291. Give me 1 second here. That's 91. There's so many orders. There it is. 87. It's not only a crime, but if you advertise, it's a crime. And not only that, and I'm quoting here, the DPPR, which is the department that deals with hotels and stuff, they shall revoke, mind you, no due process, mind you, no, status. No, you advertise. You're going to revoke the vacation rental license of any party that violates this order. And the DPPR shall alert state authorities. Not only are you going to revoke, but you're going to rat them out, and they're going to be arrested and prosecuted. And it says here, parties that violate this order or attempt to violate the order through advertising or other means of solicitation, like, hey, you're my next door neighbor. How about
Right,
you
go ahead and spread the word.
solicitation? That's a second-degree misdemeanor. Now, here's the deal. Our legislature, in its infinite wisdom, has said that when the governor declares a state of emergency, they cede to the governor through the legislative process immense power. And the governor has immense power. The only thing that stops the governor from an abuse of power with this massive immense power that he has, the power to shut you down as a business, he has that power because the legislature gave it to him, so that if the governor declares a state of emergency for any reason whatsoever, because he's empowered to say, I declare a state of emergency because we have frogs. Frogs are coming out of the Everglades, and I think the frogs are dangerous. I declare a state of emergency.
So what about those murder hornets now that are coming?
Murder hornets are coming from Seattle, and they're going to murder the bees, and they might sting you. I declare a state of emergency in perpetuity. And the legislature says, whoa, well, we can't do anything because we legislated this, and you have all of these powers, including making it a second-degree misdemeanor for violating any of your orders. And the only thing that can stop the governor as king is the federal constitution and the state constitution.
So what are you going to do?
Well, in this,
what are the arguments?
You got equal protection, obviously, everybody can see that. Due process was violated, both the state and federal constitutions under equal protection, due process. The order itself is incredibly overbroad and vague. So let me prove its vagueness quickly. Executive Order 2087, the governor passed that on March 30th. 3 days later, he passed Executive Order 91 and 92. But 92 is only humorous to those of us in Tampa because 92 is related to Pastor Brown's arrest, if you recall. And, when our local emergency planning group illegally said churches are not an essential activity, the governor wanted to make clear on April 3rd under Executive Order 92, churches are an essential activity. But I digress. He passed 91, and what 91 did is say, go look at 89, not 87, go look at 89. Executive Order 89 said Miami, Dade, Monroe, Broward, and Palm Beach County, you guys are going to do the safer at home order, just in your 4 counties. And Miami-Dade, you guys passed a whole bunch of emergency orders and a bunch of amendments between March 21st and March 30th when Executive Order 89 was passed, just in those 4 counties. And I, as governor, am going to accept and adopt Miami-Dade's emergency order and its amendments, which were 4, under Order 7-20 as it relates to what are essential businesses and essential activities, and Miami Emergency Order 9-20 and its amendment, which deals with hotels. And in 9-20, Miami said that if you're a hotel or a short-term rental, which is mom and pa, or a motel or a condo, you can continue to rent to essential lodgers, which they define as 17 different people, groups of people, like National Guardsmen, doctors, first responders, so on and so forth. Okay, and the governor says in Executive Order 91 that I'm adopting Executive Order 89 as it adopted Miami's Order 7-20 and its amendments, and 9-20 and its amendments, and I'm going to apply that statewide. So that was a mouthful, right? Now, that presents a problem because he said in 91 that this order does not supersede any other executive orders, except that Executive Order 89 superseded Executive Order 87. So you have Executive Order 87, which says, Mom, Pa, if you even advertise second-degree misdemeanor. But then you have Executive Order 89 that applied to the 4 counties through 91 was extended to the other 63 counties that said, wait, if you can rent to essential lodgers. So you have these 2 contradictions. Well, we now come to Executive Order 112, which was put into effect yesterday. And in 112 resurrects so that there's no question whatsoever from the grave. And it says specifically in Section 2, responsible individual activity, and it goes on, and and it's Section 3. And it specifically says in Section 3 that I'm going to lighten the load on everybody else. All of you businesses that were closed down, you can reopen. All you restaurants that were closed down, you can reopen. But wait, the prohibition on vacation rentals in Executive Order 2087 remains in effect for the duration of this order, which has no end state. I mean, this order could go forever. So now you've made it easier for everybody else. You've made it harder for mom and pa, but obviously the Marriott's happy. The Hyatt's happy because they don't have mom and pa competing against them.
All right, so now that you've touched upon that point, I know that we talked about this yesterday quickly when you called me. Thanks for keeping me in the loop about this. And I asked you, what's the rationale? Because I don't see any reason to make a distinction between grandma. I understand. So do you think that maybe somebody's lobbying behind the scenes to the governor to keep those other? How many? You have a number on the Marriotts and the Hyatts. What are the numbers with the private or vacation?
I don't know the exact number.
Okay.
It's not 420,000. But if you look at the 87 with all the whereases where they're supposed to give you, this is the logic. This was it. I'm going to read it. It's only one sentence. Whereas vacation rentals and third-party platforms advertising vacation rentals in Florida present attracting lodging destinations for individuals coming into Florida, which gets back to number 86, which said, if you're driving into Florida, I'm going to have the Florida Highway Patrol take a look at you, and you have to hunker down for 14 days. It basically says that's it. It's an
all right, but do you think that, I mean, so I don't see any reason why there should be that distinction. I think that they should all be included, including the mom and pop vacay rentals.
If mom and pop's an attractive lodging destination, so is the Hyatt.
So do you think that there's speculation or could be in the public that maybe somebody's whispering behind the scenes to DeSantis to, hey, keep those shut down for a while?
I don't know. I don't do politics well. Okay. That's why I'm in the Army. Well,
you're about to sue a governor, so I think you do it mighty well. So when should we expect to see a complaint?
Probably tomorrow.
Okay.
I've reached out to the U.S. attorney about an hour ago, I've known the U.S. attorney here was in the Army, and we know each other from back in the day. The guy working with me on this is Craig Huffman, who's also an Army lawyer, Army judge advocate. So, we're going to see what we can do. We're going to reach out to Ashley Moody, who we all know.
She used to be a judge out here in Hillsborough County. You're going to be reaching out to Ashley Moody right after you hang up with me.
Correct. And we're going to see if we can't get, advise the Attorney General that tomorrow we're going to file this lawsuit. Hopefully they'll do the right thing and it doesn't require it. We were kind of talking about how this virus, has killed 70,000 people. It's something to be taken seriously, but I think the real victim, when history looks at this period of time, is the rule of law and how our elected officials have not clothed themselves in glory. We're seeing elected official after elected official really assert powers that are very close to the abuse of power. And the fifth estate, the media, is not holding elected officials to account. It really comes to those of us who are members of the bar to do the kinds of things that we're talking about here through the judiciary to point to the Constitution and say, this is the protector of civil liberties. So just because you declare an emergency and claim your life is more important than your liberty, we have to remind them that we had founding fathers. You listen to, Patrick Henry, give me liberty or give me death. And we had founding fathers who were faced with the same choice of freedom and civil liberties versus their lives. And they pledged to each other their lives and their sacred honor. And I just think that today, we members of the bar, we're the bulwark that protects when government abuses its power and starts to take away civil liberties. It falls to us. Not, Morgan likes to say we're for the people. You're more for the money. Because if you were being for the people, I would see your law firm out here doing what this sole practitioner is doing. And it doesn't take a law firm. It takes a person that's highly motivated to protect rights. And so I just suggest to my colleagues.
I know, but you know what? In fairness to Morgan & Morgan, they did a lot for the push for medical marijuana. So.
Okay. I bet there was probably something there for them in the end, but I don't mean to pick on them. I'm just making the point that we have the ability to walk in the court to protect people's civil rights.
Listen, you've done a grand job. You've done a grand job. Congratulations, kudos. I tip my hat off to you for doing the curfew pushback, a pro bono. You did a lot of work on that. You showed me what you stated late into the night, into the morning, drafting something that eventually you didn't have to file because they went ahead and did the right thing. And so I thank you for doing that pro bono on behalf of the citizenry. But I also yesterday tried to kind of tempt you into throwing in the salons, hairdressers, barbers. You said that, your cup runneth over. So you have to also pay overhead and bills and bring food.
I need a haircut.
So I know you do, and you know what?
It's nice to be open.
I failed to press the record button when I was complimenting you on how handsome you are, despite the hair getting a little out of control. You seem like I failed to catch a most endearing, charming moment of you blushing, because you are somewhat of a maverick. And you're a fighter, you're a soldier. And that was cute. It was a cute moment that we missed.
I was saying that, God, the creator of the duck-billed platypus, gave this old soldier 4 beautiful girls.
Yes, they are.
I get to come home and they get to jump into my arms. So I have that. But yeah, I haven't had my hair like this.
Comment though on that. Comment. Does it make any sense for the executive order that DeSantis put out that went into effect yesterday to allow 25% capacity to operate in dining, restaurant and dining rooms, but not allow a hairdresser or barber to cut somebody's hair? Does that make sense?
To me, what he's doing here in this lawsuit that I'm doing doesn't make sense when you got people equally situated and you treat them differently. I think the problem with the barbers is they're all being treated equally bad. I think the governor made it clear yesterday that I think he's going to show some wisdom and allow some of us to get haircuts, but some of us who need it more than others in my case. But, I just kind of hope that we can find our way to normality at some point. I understand this is a very dangerous virus and it certainly is problematic and people can of goodwill can maybe disagree on the course of action that we should all take. But what I'm talking about here is those of us in the bar have to protect civil liberties. And I just think it's dangerous when government comes knocking and saying, we're going to protect your life at the expense of your liberty. I think that we have to look at that very critically.
And not only that, I want to give a shout out to Dario Diaz. That's a good colleague of ours here locally. Yesterday, he posted an article, and I forgot exactly where it's at in the country, but law enforcement officers beating someone, that's what the headline said. I have to go and look into that story further. But if in fact law enforcement officials are beating people up, arresting them because they're failing to adhere to social distancing rules. It's a little
So-
bit contradictory. You want to save the citizens,
Did they
but then you're going
engage
to
in
beat them
social
up.
distancing while they were beating?
Exactly. Lack of common sense. Some of our leaders need common sense, and they don't have any. So that's a problem. But who does it lie on to correct those wrongs? Ultimately, what type of
It rests on us, the members of the bar. And you can be a
and the
sole
citizenry?
practitioner. You don't have to be a member of a large firm to make a difference. I mean, look around. I'm just a Joe, an average dude. I'm a nobody. In the big scheme of life, I'm a nobody. Nobody gives a darn.
We're in the same club.
Except those 4 girls, but and my wife. But yeah, I'm a nobody. But I'm a nobody who believes, as my phone rings, I may be Ashley Moody, that after 32 years in the Army, that our rights have things that are important.
Thank you for joining me. Keep me in the loop. Tell Ashley that I say hi, and to follow this segment.
I'm going to answer this phone.
Bye.
Guys. Patrick LeDuc speaking. May I help you?